So it's time for today's special feature. And the special feature is never a question that someone has asked me, but darn it, if I don't notice every week that there's some kind of common theme that pops up. There's always one, sometimes it recurs, but this week, one theme that keeps coming up is the language set that we use. And I started doing some brainstorming the other day on language sets, and it doesn't mean that one language set is good and one language set is bad. It means when you realize that all of us have a particular group of words and phrases that are normal for us, when you realize that other people's groups of words and phrases that are normal for them, when they're not the same, when you start to notice that, you start to realize, my gosh, I can choose what is part of my, let's call it a word basket or word quiver, if you want to, right, go with that imagery. You start to realize that you can choose and still be authentic to who you are as a human being. And now all of a sudden, you're going from speaking in whatever way that got you here, right? Speaking in your default way to powerfully choosing your language. You can also use these techniques that I'm about to share with you to notice the word choices used by others and learn things about how they view the world and either connect with them and or predict future behaviors based on their word choice, or predict their future choices based on that language. And I want to share with you some thoughts that I jotted down. When you hear people saying statements of belief, I believe X, they're seeing the world in a particular way. And they're seeing their fit in the world in a particular way. They plant their stake in the ground and say, this is what I believe. Versus if they say, you should. You can say whatever is filling in what comes after that can be identical. But whether it's preceded by I believe or you should, place the speaker in two very different conversations. And you should can be part of a judgmental conversation. It can be part of an advisory conversation. I believe is more consistent with a leadership conversation. Not that one is good and one is bad. These have different functions. And if you are in a position of leadership, looking to inspire people on your team, or clients, customers, whoever it is that is following you, issuing statements of belief says, I'm a leader. Saying you should is more of a judgmental or a tactical, or a tactical in a very specific context. Like, if you want to get here, then you should take this path. And it's a very forward energy. It's a kind of a pushing energy. And that in itself isn't good or bad either. Be aware that you should is a kind of a pushing energy. And sometimes you want to deploy that kind of pushing energy in a conversation, in a working session. If, however, you're working with an audience that is not receptive to that pushing kind of energy, you're going to want to go with statements of belief. Or you're going to want to go with alternate terminology like consider. You should versus consider. Whatever comes after that can be the same, but it has a profoundly different impact and effectiveness on the people that you're talking to. Am I saying that here I go, you should pick one or the other? No. I'm proposing that you be aware of the differences so you have the opportunity to choose this language in a situation that makes sense for it. Another thing that I jotted down, language of effective versus ineffective, aligned versus misaligned, effective, aligned. That's all consistent with a conversation that is allowing all parties or creating freedom and expression for all parties. There's a time and place for that. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Andrea. Welcome to the show, both of you. Versus language about right and wrong, correct or incorrect, accurate and inaccurate. There's a time and place for those words as well, and for that language as well. For example, it's not likely that you're going to have a bookkeeping conversation about what's aligned, but you're going to have a bookkeeping conversation about correct or incorrect, or accurate and inaccurate. If you're having a conversation with a bookkeeper who's talking about what's aligned, you might want to find out if they also provide CFO advisory services. If you as a bookkeeper are using the energies of accurate and inaccurate to talk about bookkeeping, that could make a lot of sense. If, however, you want to start talking to a client about their chart of accounts design and the kind of reports and insights that they can have with different types of charts of accounts, correct and incorrect is not a language set that will serve you and help you get there. You're going to want to choose from a different language set, more like effective and ineffective, aligned or out of alignment. Or if you really want to go there with a more intense energy, misaligned. Again, having the power to choose from these word baskets is an incredible feeling. It's freeing. You can be more effective with the people that you're working with. And the last thing is not necessarily a matter of language, but more a matter of how we observe, the language that we use when we observe other people doing things. If you observe other people and let's say that are on your team or in a client's team or on the team of a service provider, and if their language and actions seem to be focused on what they do, then you realize they're focusing on being busy. If their language and actions seem to be focused on producing a result, they have a different orientation altogether. And in general, teams that are focused on producing results have a higher value than teams that are focused on being busy. Be on the lookout for language that's consistent with being busy, and be on the lookout for language that's consistent with producing results. And in the interest of time, we're not going to go through lists today, but I challenge you to have your antennae up for language consistent with being busy versus producing results. And that language can give you a clue and a context as to how somebody is viewing their role or their mission or their day-to-day activities. Are they really focused on being busy, or are they really focused on producing results? And of course, if you're anything like me, and I know you are, because that's what has us together here on this call, you're going to be using this looking inward as well. My gosh, when I describe what I do every day, do I focus on my activities step by step, or do I focus on the results that I'm producing as I describe my day? If you're focused on your activities when you put your day into language, dollars to donuts, you're doing more than you need to in order to produce the results that you want to produce. But if you're focused on producing results and you find yourself describing your day in terms of the results that you produce, you're producing more of those results. And you're producing more of those results in the same time frame because you're more efficient about it. You're looking to be less busy to produce a given result, not more busy. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening to today's special feature.